Have you ever felt, I don't know, a little disconnected from the world, even in your own neighborhood? Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating project by Sam Harrelson. It's basically his journal of paying attention to just one single black walnut tree. And what he finds is that by slowing down and really observing one living thing, you can kind of open up a conversation with, well, with the entire world.
But here's the thing, this whole deep inquiry, it doesn't start with some peaceful Zen moment in the woods. No, it starts with something I think we can all relate to. The noise, the chaos, and the sheer inconvenience of everyday life. In his case, it was a massive water main project tearing up his neighborhood for months.
You know exactly what he's talking about, right? The road closures, the detours, that frantic morning rush trying to get the kids to school on time. It's this constant mental gymnastics, this low-level hum of stress that just seems to define so much of our modern lives. It's that feeling that your own day is being constantly invaded by someone else's schedule.
And that feeling of disruption, it really sets the stage for this fundamental tension. It's the clash between our loud, scheduled human world and the much quieter, more than human world that's, well, it's right there alongside us, even if we don't always notice it.
This project just lays that contrast out so clearly. You've got the human world on one side, beeping construction trucks, frantic school runs, the constant battle against invasive plants like kudzu. And on the other side, the trees world. Its roots are getting exposed by all the digging. Its leaves are falling on their own schedule. Its limbs get lopped off for power lines. It's like two totally different realities occupying the exact same space.
And here's the crucial point, this paradox he points out. Of course, running water is great, we need roads. But at the same time, the whole process feels so intrusive. It really makes you think about how often we humans don't consider our own invasiveness. You know, the constant noise and impact we have on everything around us.
So, in response to all this noise and tension, Sam starts a practice that he calls tracking. And just to be clear, this isn't about hunting animals or anything like that. It's about treating this black walnut tree not just as a plant, but as a teacher, a guide, maybe even a friend.
This definition is so important. Tracking is way more than just looking at a tree. It's about showing up with a real intention to be present. And that last part, relational reciprocity, that just means it's a two-way street. He's observing the tree, sure, but he also gets the feeling that the tree and the wind and the squirrels are all observing him right back, and that they're changing him in the process.
The process itself is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. First, you just show up, consistently, through all the seasons. Then, you start paying really close attention to all the tiny details. You know, the way seed pods drop, how the leaves change color, and finally, you just let those small observations spark these huge questions.
So let's properly meet the silent star of this whole story. This black walnut tree, it's not just some generic tree. It has real character. Dark, deeply grooved bark, these huge leaves made up of tons of little leaflets. It's a vital part of its ecosystem. But most importantly, it operates on a totally different timescale. As Sam says, it was here long before any of us, and it'll probably be here long after we're all gone.
Okay, so what actually happens when you follow this practice? What do you learn? Well, by simply paying attention to this one tree, this whole new way of seeing the world starts to open up, revealing these incredibly profound lessons about time, memory, and even consciousness itself.
Just think for a second about how we humans mark time. It's usually linear and honestly pretty stressful. We live by the clock, right? The morning rush, project deadlines at work. We even mark our memories by big dramatic events, like the anniversary of a hurricane that hit the neighborhood. Our time is full of things we have to do.
Now compare that to tree time. A tree doesn't have a calendar. It marks time in cycles. Shedding its seeds, growing its roots deeper, reaching for sunlight, losing its leaves, adapting to storms. It doesn't stress about deadlines, it just responds. It's a completely different way of being in the world, one we can really learn from.
And this shift in thinking about time leads to a much deeper idea. Drawing on philosophers like Alfred North Whitehead, Sam starts to wonder, what if consciousness isn't just something stuck inside our human heads? What if it's more like a field, like electromagnetism, that surrounds everything? And maybe, just maybe, we can tap into it if we just allow ourselves to. Once you start thinking that way, it just opens a floodgate of fascinating questions. If a tree experiences the world this way, what does it remember? Does it hold a memory of the seasons, of past storms, of all the people who have stood under its branches over the decades?
And if it can remember, Well, what's next? Could it have something more? I mean, does a tree have a soul? Sam really wrestles with this, suggesting maybe there's a field of soul that all life taps into, something bigger than we can really comprehend.
And this brings it all back to a feeling that I'm sure we've all had. That little pang of sadness or even anger when you see a beautiful old tree being cut down. Why do we feel that so deeply? Maybe that reaction isn't just random. Maybe it's actual proof of our connection to this whole web of life, whether we consciously acknowledge it or not.
So, where does this whole journey of observation and questioning actually lead? Well, it's not about finding some neat, tidy answer. It's about a fundamental shift in how you see everything.
Ultimately, the whole point of this practice is to try and realign our human way of thinking with the deeper patterns of the world. It's about learning to live in kinship, to see that tree not as an object in your yard, but as a relative, a fellow being sharing this planet with us.
And what I love is how this massive philosophical quest gets brought right back down to earth in this incredibly simple, relatable moment. His 10-year-old son just asks him, "Dad, what do you do?" I mean, how do you explain all of this? Phenomenology, consciousness, kinship, to a kid. Sam admits he's still figuring that out, but he hopes this whole project is getting him a little closer to an answer. And that leaves us with one final thought. This isn't just about one guy and one tree. It's really an invitation. If you were to just slow down and truly pay attention, what teachers, what friends, what kind of profound conversations are waiting for you right outside your own door?